All right, so now we can actually dive in and create our first template. And now there's a specific folder structure when creating templates that Django expects. So I just want to go through that quickly. So if you open up your config, your project settings.py, and you scroll down to this templates variable, you can see that there's this appdirs equals true. And that basically means that Django will be looking within your app directories for your template files. And obviously all of these settings are customizable, but we'll just stick with the Django defaults for now. I just wanted to point that out. So we can close this settings.py file. And Django also has an expected folder structure for these templates. So it expects to see the app name, that would be movies, /templates, so a templates folder, and then the app name again. And then within that folder, you would have your template file, index.html. So in this case, it's going to be movies/templates/movies/index.html. So let's go ahead and create this index.html file, which will be our template. So we can go into our movies directory, new file, templates/movies/index.html. And now this is pretty much just an HTML file, except that it has those extra features that we talked about in our slides, like variables and filters and tags. But for now, we can just create a basic HTML document. So HTML, and we can create a body. And within that body, we can return an h1 tag and say, my fave movies. Awesome. So this is a Django template, but now we need to tell the view that this is what we want to return. Because right now we're just returning some text. So let's go back to the view. And when we first opened this views.py file, this from Django.shortcuts import render was already up there. And that's because render is a pretty commonly used function and pretty commonly returned from these views. And as you can see from the description here, is that it returns an HTTP response, which is what we were currently returning. So just some text whose content is filled with the result of calling Django.template.loader. So basically, it returns HTTP response, but it calls and returns a template. So it lets you return a template essentially. So we can use this in this view here. So we can update this view to return this template. So instead of returning this HTTP response, we will return render, and it takes a couple arguments. The first thing it takes is this request. So we took in the request up here, and we just have to pass it along. The next thing it takes is the template name. So here it would be movies/index.html right here. So the app name and then the file name. And then a third and optional argument, which we will discuss later on, is it takes in basically variables or information typically called the context. And this would be variables that we would use within the templates in dictionary format. But right now we can just pass an empty dictionary. You don't have to pass anything, but later on we'll see how we can actually pass info into the templates. So perfect, we can save that, and our URL is already connected to that view, so nothing has changed. So now we can open up our terminal and make sure the server is still running, and open back up the browser. And now if we refresh the page, boom, we can see my fave movies, and we can see that it's a little bit bigger because it's an H1 tag. Amazing, so now we're actually returning a template. The next thing we're going to do is dive into how to pass data into the template so we can do things like list out our favorite movies. So join me in the next video and let's dive into that.